everyone, welcome back to our channel. I'm Victoria and this is Vanya. We are both personal trainers at Freeform Fitness. This is our third video in our Programming for Beginners series. Today we're going to be talking about the FITT principles. So the FITT principles are frequency, intensity, time, and type. It's important to think about these four principles when creating your program to ensure that you have a structured and well-balanced program.
Frequency means the amount of times that you are able to exercise within a given week. Before you even start exercising, you want to think about how much time you're able to commit to exercise on a weekly basis. How many days a week are you able to set aside for exercise? And that doesn't have to be just strength training. It can be all of your physical activities.
It's important also to keep in mind what your goal is, because some goals may require a higher frequency than others. When you're just thinking about general fitness, 2 days might be fine. If you're training for something like a marathon, you may need to be working out 5 to 6 days a week.
Another consideration is thinking about your experience level. If you're just starting out, the idea of exercising close to every day of the week might be overwhelming to you. So it's okay to even start with just 1 day a week and kind of build up from there as you get more confident and more comfortable with exercise.
You'll also want to make sure that you plan for days off for recovery. So there's some rare instances where you can work out 7 days a week, but some of those days may be less intense and you don't need as much recovery. But if you are working out more intensely, then full rest days may be required in your program. The second principle is intensity. What this means is how hard you're working. There's a few ways to figure out how hard you're working and what intensity you should be working at. The first one being rate of perceived exertion. This is a scale from 1 to 10, 1 meaning very easy, doesn't require any effort, whereas a 10 would be extremely fatiguing, very challenging to the point of complete exhaustion.
And then the other way to measure intensity is measuring your heart rate and how closely to your maximum heart rate that you're working out at. This can be a useful tool for more endurance or cardio-based workouts. The first thing you would need to know is what your maximum heart rate is. This isn't a perfect measurement, but something simple and easy to use is taking 220 beats per minute and subtracting your age. So if you were 20 years old, your max heart rate would theoretically be 200 beats per minute. And then you would adjust things based off of a percentage of your maximum heart rate. High intensity work, things such as sprinting, for instance, that is where you'll be getting your heart rate up to around the 90% range. And then if you were doing a slower, longer distance run, then you might want to stick around more of like a 50% range of your maximum heart rate.
Then we have time. So this refers to how long your workouts are. So someone who's more advanced is going to be able to work out for longer, whereas a beginner might work out for a shorter period of time. This also may be dependent on your schedule. So someone who's very busy can do 20 to 30-minute workouts, whereas someone who can dedicate more time to their fitness may work out for over an hour. This may also be dependent on your goals. So if you're training for something like a marathon, you may need to devote more time because you're training for an endurance sport.
And the last principle is type. That refers to what kind of exercise that you're doing. So it could be strength training, doing a yoga class, or even that weekly soccer game that you play.
It's also important to consider what type of training you're doing so that one workout doesn't conflict with another. For example, if you are doing hard sprints, you are not going to want to do that after a heavy leg day session the day before. So you would want to find a way to create a plan where you would have days that are separated.
For an average person looking to improve their overall fitness, you want to look at targeting different components of fitness and health. Strength training is definitely something that you would want to consider, but you may also want to add some mobility work, for instance, throwing in some yoga classes just to make sure that you're able to stay mobile in your joints and be able to move better.
So we're going to give you guys an example of how you would use the FITT principles for a person who's training for a marathon. We're going to start with types since we already know what their goal is and what they're trying to accomplish. They are going to need to be running, and they're also going to need to do some strength training to ensure that they're preventing injuries.
For somebody training for a marathon, you'll probably want to be running at least 4 days a week, and 2 days of strength training a week should be enough to make sure that you're preventing any injuries and maintaining your overall strength in the lower body.
And then when it comes to intensity, someone who's training for a marathon may have 2 longer, less intense runs, 1 medium intensity run, and then 1 higher intensity interval style run. Whereas their strength training is going to be a little bit different. So these will depend on more of your reps and set ranges, so training phases, which we're going to talk about in our 4th video of the Programming for Beginners series. So check out that video next. This is also going to depend on where you are in your race training program. When you're coming closer to your race day, you're going to want to decrease the intensity of your weightlifting workouts to make sure that you aren't sore or exhausting your muscles.
The amount of time will vary based on the intensity of the run that you're doing. Those slower, less intense runs are probably going to take more time. So you want to think about scheduling those runs in probably over the weekend or whenever you're not working so that you're able to devote that amount of time. Those shorter, higher intensity runs might take around an hour, and then you could probably devote 30 to 45 minutes to your strength training sessions.
That gives you guys a good idea of how you would create a plan using the FITT principles. Before you start your program, you're going to want to sit down and write this all out to give you an idea of how you're going to start creating your program. Your FITT principles are going to depend on whatever your goals are.
Please like this video if you've enjoyed it. Tell all your friends. Invite more people to our world.
Subscribe.
Yes. Leave us a comment so that we know you're watching, and we'll answer any questions you might have on health and fitness. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye.